99% of Dungeons hate is fake. Here's why. Recently, Dungeons passed its 6th-year anniversary, and throughout that time, it's been pretty controversial in some aspects. And today, I'm going to be diving into some hot takes and seeing whether or not they're actually valid, or if people are just being lazy.
It's so beautiful that damn, look at my...
The first hot take that we're going to talk about is the high barrier to entry. And well, this breaks down to many layers because it really depends on what you're trying to play. For example, if you want to play floor 7, it might not be as bad compared to master mode 7. So to generalize this, it's not that fair. But for one, master mode 7 is considered one of the final parts of this game. And if it was super easy to enter, then it wouldn't really be the end of this game. I mean, this is one of the hardest quote-unquote parts of Skyblock that we have. Thus, I think with it being one of the last parts of this game and more endgame content, I feel like if it doesn't have a high cost to entry, then it just doesn't make sense, because then everyone could do it, regardless of wealth. And I think if you were towards the end of the game, a lot of these items shouldn't be a problem. This is something that I've seen because despite my level, I'm pretty broke, and people will always comment on that. And it's fair, because if you're at a level like this, then you should have a certain amount of money. And well, then master mode also shouldn't be a problem. So I feel like this take is more of a D tier take. It doesn't really make sense because with it being a piece of endgame content, I feel like the high cost to entry is kind of a given that just comes with it. The next thing I want to talk about is having to learn too much stuff, whether that being secret routes, boss fights, and anything in between. People will complain that there is way too much to learn. And I feel like that is just not a good take, because first of all, you don't have to learn all of this. You can still find parties, it just might not be as good. And secondly, a lot of this stuff is not as hard as it seems. For example, just learning the most basic secret routes is not that bad, and it maybe takes a week max to get most of the rooms. As well as the boss fights, I feel like there are so many tools now and guides out there that if you really just practice it a couple times, it's not that bad. But this connects to another topic which we'll talk about later. And again, I'm going to use Master Mode 7 as a reference. I feel like with the way that the floors are built and layered together, if you were to play through all of the dungeon floors, there wouldn't be too much to learn clearing wise if you just started with the right path. That being said, I feel like honestly, learning some of these classes and doing all these routes is kind of fun, because I enjoy being able to go into a room and be like, oh, I know exactly how to do this. I actually don't know exactly how to do it. But for example, if I go into rails or mines and there's like a big room, I like being able to know what to do, and I feel like, you know, in general, it's not as bad. You help the party, and as well as if everybody knows what they're doing, then you kind of know what to expect from other people, and that way you have a better experience in general. Therefore, that take of having to learn too much is more of an F tier take, because 1, you don't have to, and 2, it's not as bad as it seems. For reference, I'm not the craziest dungeon player, I just hit Cata 50, but I feel like throughout this experience, I've gauged what it kind of feels like, and when I'm just honest about learning stuff and open to making changes, people don't really care. It's only when you don't listen or you don't want to change is when you have the troubles. Which brings me to my next point, which is that the community is really toxic. Now, this is kind of subjective because it really depends who you meet. You know, you could log onto the game and meet the worst person, and that could be your impression of the game, and that's just unfortunate. But I think throughout playing since Dungeons have come out, I feel like the majority of the player base has been pretty nice. I mean, I've met some of my best friends on here, and a lot of people are here to help you. If you have questions, you just ask and you just say. It's only when I realize that people are not willing to change, or they're just not open about their mistakes, or they keep blaming other people, that's when it gets a little toxic, because ego is there, I guess you could say. If you do meet someone that is just plain out toxic, it's not that hard to ignore them. I mean, for example, you don't have to be in Discord servers. You can block someone. There's just a lot of things you can do now to just avoid certain people if they are toxic. Which is why I feel like a lot of this toxic community stuff is kind of inflated beyond what it actually is. Because realistically, the amount of parties I've been in where someone doesn't know something and you just send like a message or two and it's all good, it's been quite common. And overall, I feel like a lot of people actually are more chill than you'd expect. I actually have a first-hand encounter with this, which is when I was streaming. I had some of the best M7 players come in here and actually teach me how to do things. So it's like, as long as you're open and willing to change and actually learn, nobody's gonna hate you for that. How are you gonna put hate on someone for actually trying and wanting to learn and get better? You know, you might still meet a couple of people, but if you explain your situation, 99% of those people are not gonna care. So again, toxic community, that's like a D tier. I get that once in a while, there is someone that is probably just not having a good day or something, or they're just toxic. It happens. But to say that the whole community is toxic is a bit of a reach. My next hot take is that Party Finder takes too long. This one is an interesting one because with some regard, it is true. I mean, for example, a lot of people will demand sub 5 parties, which is another kind of controversial thing because someone could be good but not have a sub 5. Or someone could have a sub 5 and have no idea what they're doing because they got carried. That's the kind of thing that happens and you can't really tell unless you play with them. I mean, maybe you can look at secret counts or run counts, but you really don't know. So people will often have these high standards, and if something looks off or they're missing a certain item, they might kick you. And in that case, it just takes a long time finding the right people. I feel like at a certain point after you play enough Party Finder or dungeons, you sort of meet people and a lot of people will friend them, and nowadays a lot of people I know don't even use Party Finder because they just ask their friends. If you get to a certain point where you can do that, then this shouldn't even be a problem. I will say though, if you are starting out, Party Finder can take a long time. I mean, think about the amount of parties that are doing not master mode, that are doing normal floor 5. There's not too many parties that are just doing normal floor 5, and if they are, who knows if they're good? That's the thing. Party Finder is maybe viable only for M7 and occasionally the other ones, but this take is a B tier take because it is true to some validity. If you're not doing the end floors or the floors that everyone's playing, it can take a long time to find a party, and that can be quite frustrating. The last thing I'm going to talk about is dungeons is too repetitive. Think about it, dungeons actually has a lot of variability compared to the other aspects of the game. I mean, for one, the map generation is completely different. Sure, the rooms might be the same, but that doesn't mean you go through every dungeon the exact same. The boss fight is the same for the most part, but there still is a variability, and how you are able to adapt is what makes a good player, because that's where consistency shines out. If you're doing something like Kudra or Slayers, I mean, think about the variability in Kudra, for example. There is almost none. I mean, you have the supplies, that's probably the hardest part, and then the rest is just damage. You have Slayers, which is literally the exact same thing. Every boss, maybe depending on where you spawn it, is different. So to say that dungeons is repetitive is like saying Skyblock is repetitive. That's literally the game. And I feel like that is just not a valid point. So F tier. This video was kind of different, and it was just me yapping a whole lot about controversial takes. And I feel like I want to do more of these, but in general with hot takes. So if you have any hot takes, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll probably be making a forum sometime in the future. But if you have a hot take, leave it down below, and the hotter the better. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.